The cryopod made a long hissing sound as it opened. The white light from inside was so bright that it hurt the eyes. Mison's eyes snapped open suddenly, like someone waking from a bad dream. Her chest moved up and down quickly as her lungs remembered how to work again. She had been sleeping for a very long time, 200 years. That is what the numbers on the screen above her face said when her eyes could finally see clearly. 200 years of nothing. 200 years of not thinking, not moving, not feeling anything at all. Mi-sun sat up slowly. Every muscle in her body hurt a little. It felt like she had not moved for 200 years, which was true. The window next to her showed the dark space outside. The Andromeda Galaxy was spinning slowly like a big wheel. It was beautiful, but Mi-sun did not have time to think about beauty right now. Far away in that galaxy, something bad was happening. Something very bad. She swung her legs over the edge of the long bed and stood up. Her feet touched the cold floor. The station around her was quiet and empty. There were no people here, just machines and computers and lights. A voice came from the speakers in the ceiling. It was the voice of the station's computer. It did not sound like a person. It sounded like someone had mixed metal and stone together and made it talk. "You are awake," the computer voice said. "Welcome back to active service, Soldier Mi-sun. The situation in the galaxy has changed." "Tell me what happened," Mi-sun said. Her voice was rough from not being used for so long. She walked toward the medical station. She needed to check her body. She needed to see if the sleep had damaged anything. The computer started talking about the Zarathi. Mi-sun had never heard of the Zarathi before. 200 years ago, they did not exist in this part of space. But now, the computer said, the Zarathi were conquering systems. They were taking planets. They were killing billions of people. The number was so big that Mi-sun could hardly understand it. "How many humans are dead?" she asked. 3 billion estimated, the computer said. Just like that. 3 billion, like it was saying the weather. Mi-sun did not move for a moment. She thought about what that number meant. 3 billion people meant families. It meant children. It meant everything that one world could ever build, gone. It meant the end of dreams and songs and stories and love. 3 billion. But there was no time to feel sad about it. Feeling sad would not stop the Zarathi. Feeling sad would not save the people who were still alive. "Where is Admiral Teo?" she asked. "Admiral Teo is in command of the Terran Coalition forces at the main base in the Kepler sector," the computer said. "He sent a message. He said that if anyone from Earth woke up, they should contact him immediately." "Teo asked for me." Mi-sun smiled, but the smile was not happy. It was the smile of someone who knows something bad is coming. "That means things are worse than you are telling me." "Admiral Teo did not say that," the computer said. "He did not have to," Mi-sun replied. She went to the medical station and sat down in the big chair. Machines came down from the ceiling and looked at her body. Lights moved across her skin. The machines made quiet beeping sounds. Mi-sun closed her eyes and tried to remember what she was trained to do. She was trained to be a warrior. She was trained to fight. She was trained to win when winning seemed impossible. The medical check took 30 minutes. When it was finished, the computer told her that her body was fine. The sleep had worked. Everything was as it should be. Her muscles would be weak for a few days, but that was normal. Her mind would be sharp again soon. "Get me a combat suit," Mi-sun said, "and prepare all my weapons. I want everything ready to go." "Your weapons were kept in storage during your sleep," the computer said. "I can have them ready in 10 minutes. But Soldier Mi-sun, you have not eaten anything in 200 years. You should rest. You should—" "I can eat on the way," Mi-sun said. "How long until I can talk to Admiral Teo?" 30 minutes if you leave now," the computer said. Mi-sun stood up. She felt dizzy for just a second, then the feeling went away. Her body was already starting to remember how to work. That was good. She did not have time to be weak. The combat suit was waiting for her in the equipment room. It was sleek and black, with lines of silver that showed where the power lines were under the material. The suit covered her body from her neck to her feet. There were places where weapons could be connected. There were places where the suit could receive information from her brain. When she put it on, she felt stronger. She felt like herself again. The weapons came next. A gun that could shoot in 10 different ways. A sword made of metal that would never break. Smaller weapons for close fighting. Tools for building and breaking things. Everything that a warrior needed to stay alive. Mi-sun looked at herself in the mirror. A woman of about 30 years old looked back at her. She had dark hair and dark eyes. She had a small scar on her cheek from a fight long ago. She did not look like someone who had been asleep for 200 years. She looked like someone who was ready for anything. "I am ready," she said. A small ship was waiting for her outside the station. It was fast and small, made for 1 or 2 people. The computer had already put in the directions for the Kepler sector. Mi-sun climbed inside and sat in the pilot's chair. The chair knew her body already, from 200 years ago. It moved to fit her perfectly. The ship started moving. It was smooth and quiet. Space was dark all around. Stars were points of light in the darkness. Mi-sun had always loved looking at stars. They made her feel small, but also like she was part of something big. Now, as her ship flew toward Admiral Teo and the war, she thought about the 3 billion people who would never see these stars again. She would not let it happen. Not if she could stop it. The ship flew faster and faster, heading toward the place where the fighting was. Heading toward the Zarathi. Heading toward everything that was coming next. Mi-sun sat in her chair and waited. She had been sleeping for 200 years. Now it was time to wake up completely. Now it was time to do what she was made to do. Now it was time to fight. The command center was big and dark, with screens everywhere showing maps and pictures and numbers. Lights from the screens made everything blue and gray. People sat at desks, watching the screens, watching the war happen far away. When Mi-sun walked in, everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at her. Admiral Teo stood in the middle of the room. He was older now, maybe 50 or 60 years old. His hair was white. His face had deep lines in it from worry and stress. But when he saw Mi-sun, his eyes changed. They became sharp and bright, like they had been when he was young. "You are here," Teo said. He said it like he was not sure if he believed it. "I am here," Mi-sun said. She walked to the big table in the middle of the room. On the table was a 3-dimensional picture of space. She could see the stars and the planets. She could see where humans lived, and she could see where the Zarathi were. They were moving forward like a wave that could not be stopped. "Show me everything." Teo used his hands to move the picture in the air. He moved it and turned it and made parts bigger so they could see them better. As he did this, he talked about the war. "The Zarathi came from nowhere about 2 years ago," he said. "They started taking systems one by one. We thought we could stop them, but we were wrong. Their ships are too strong. Their weapons are too powerful. We have lost so many people." The picture showed a long list of the systems that had fallen. 47 systems. Mi-sun knew some of them. They were full of people. They had cities and farms and music and art. Now they were gone. "How many people?" Mi-sun asked. "We think about 1 billion at first," Teo said quietly. "Then they took more systems. Now it is 3 billion people. Maybe more. We stopped counting after that. It was too hard to count." Mi-sun looked at the picture very carefully. She moved her eyes across it, looking at how the Zarathi were moving, how they were attacking, which places they were taking next. After a few minutes, she saw something that other people had not seen. "They are following a pattern," she said. "What?" Teo asked. "Look," Mi-sun said. She used her finger to trace a line across the picture. Every system they take, they move in the same direction, Every attack follows the same plan. It is like they are following a map that only they can see. A young officer came over. His name was Yawned. He was maybe 25 years old with black hair and serious eyes. He looked at what Mi-sun had shown them. "We noticed the pattern too," Yawned said, "but we could not use it. The pattern does not help us. They are still too strong." "They are strong," Mi-sun said, "but they are not perfect. They are following a pattern. That means we can know what they will do, and if we know what they will do, we can be ready. We can make them fight where we want them to fight." "That sounds good," Teo said, "but we have tried that. They keep winning." "You have been fighting them like they are stronger than you," Mi-sun said. She looked at the picture again. She moved her eyes across the systems and the planets and the lines showing where the Zarathi had gone. "But being stronger is not the only way to win. You can also win by being smarter. You can win by knowing things they do not know." She pointed at the picture. "Where did they come from? Before they started taking systems, where were they?" Everyone in the room looked confused. No one had ever asked this question before. "We do not know," Teo said. "They just appeared. They came from the direction of the void sector, but no one knows for sure." "The void sector," Mi-sun said quietly. She had read about the void sector when she was young, a long time ago. It was a place where the instruments did not work. It was a place where ships could get lost. It was a place where almost no one ever went. "Yes," Teo said, "but it is too dangerous. We cannot go there. We do not have the ships. We do not have the knowledge of how to survive there." Mi-sun looked at Yawned. The young officer was watching her with big eyes. He was smart. She could see that. He was the kind of person who would understand what she was going to say. "I will go there," Mi-sun said. "What?" Teo's voice was very loud. Other officers looked over. "No, absolutely no. You just woke up. You are one person. You cannot—" "You need to know why the Zarathi are afraid," Mi-sun said. "And they are afraid. Look at their pattern. They are not conquering. They are running. They are running forward because something behind them scares them." Teo did not say anything, but he looked at the picture again. Maybe he saw what Mi-sun saw. "I need a fast ship," Mi-sun said, "and a small crew. People who are smart. People who are brave. We will go into the void sector and find what the Zarathi are running from. When we know that, we can win." "The casualty rate would be 100%, Yawned said. He was looking at his computer, doing calculations. Statistically, going into the void sector with a small ship and a small crew would end in death. The radiation alone. "So is staying here and letting the Zarathi take everything," Mi-sun said. "At least this way we have a chance." Teo rubbed his face. He looked very tired. "You want to do this?" "I need to do this," Mi-sun said. The Admiral was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "We have one ship that is fast enough, the An-Jari. It is our newest scout ship. But sending you out there is like throwing away our best chance." "Your best chance is knowing the truth," Mi-sun said. "Right now you are fighting in the dark. You are hitting at things you cannot see. Let me bring you some light." She looked at Yawned. "You. What is your name again?" "Yawned," the officer said. "You are coming with me," Mi-sun said. "I am?" Yawned looked very surprised. "Yes," Mi-sun said. "I need someone smart. I need someone who can think. I need someone who understands numbers and patterns. You are those things. Can you be ready in 1 hour?" Yawned opened his mouth. Then he closed it. Then he opened it again. "Yes," he said. "Yes, I can be ready." "Good," Mi-sun said. She looked back at Teo. "How long until the An-Jari can leave?" 1 hour, Teo said. He was smiling now, but the smile was sad. "Be careful out there, Mi-sun. The universe is different than it was 200 years ago." The universe is always the same, Mi-sun said. People change, but the universe stays the same. We just have to learn how to listen to what it is trying to tell us. She turned and walked toward the door. Ji-won followed her. Why did you choose me? The young officer asked. Because you are the one person in this room who looked scared, Mi-sun said. And the person who is most scared is the one who understands what is at stake. Fear is good. Fear keeps you alive. They walked out of the command center together. Behind them, Teo watched them go. He hoped they would come back. But he also knew that hope and probability were two different things. Still, Mi-sun had always done the impossible. Maybe she could do it one more time. Maybe she could do it in the dark. The Anjari was a beautiful ship. It was long and thin, like an arrow made of silver metal. Its engines were the newest kind, the kind that could go very fast through space. Inside, the ship was full of machines and computers. There was a room for sleeping, a room for eating, and a main room where they could control everything. Mi-sun sat in the pilot's seat. Her hands touched the controls and the ship responded. She could feel the engines starting. Around them, the station got smaller and smaller. Soon, they were alone in space with nothing but stars all around them. Tell me about the void sector, Mi-sun said to Ji-won. The young officer was sitting at the science station, looking at screens and reading information. Not much is known about it, Ji-won said. His voice was a little nervous. The first ship to go there came back completely broken. No one knew what happened to them. After that, people stopped going. Now it is just a place on maps that says, "Do not go here." How long since someone tried? Mi-sun asked. 50 years, Ji-won said. Maybe longer. The ship moved forward. The stars around them were normal at first. Then slowly, things started to change. The light from the stars became dimmer. The colors changed from white and blue to deep red and orange. The instruments on the ship started to act strange. Numbers jumped around. The compass that showed direction stopped working. We are at the edge, Ji-won said. The void sector is ahead. Mi-sun could see it now. It was not like anything else in space. It was like looking at a wall of darkness, a wall so dark that it seemed to swallow light. The Anjari's instruments said the darkness was nothing, just empty space. But Mi-sun's eyes and her instincts told her something different. There was something there, something hiding in that darkness. Move forward, Mi-sun said. Are you sure? Ji-won asked. His hands were shaking a little. No, Mi-sun said. But we did not come here to be sure. We came here to find answers, and answers are in that darkness. The ship moved forward into the void sector. Immediately, everything became harder. The instruments that helped them see and navigate stopped working. The radio that let them talk to the station became silent. The screens on the ship showed nothing but gray static. We are blind, Ji-won said. No, Mi-sun said. We are learning to see in a different way. She closed her eyes. Her combat suit had special systems, systems that most people did not know about, systems that could feel radiation and magnetic fields and tiny waves of energy. She opened her mind to all of these things. Slowly, a picture started to form in her thoughts. She could see the ship. She could see the stars beyond them, even though they were hidden by the darkness. And she could see something else, a trail, like a road made of energy instead of rock. Follow this, Mi-sun said. She sent the image from her mind to the ship's computers. The computers understood. The Anjari changed direction and followed the invisible road. What is that? Ji-won asked. He was looking at his screens, trying to understand what was happening. It is a path, Mi-sun said. Something big passed through here. Something very big. The Zarathi, maybe. Their ships left a trail, an energy trail that we can follow. Hours passed, then days. Time started to feel strange in the void sector. Sometimes Mi-sun thought that only a few minutes had gone by. Then she would look at the clock and find that many hours had passed. Sometimes she thought a whole day had gone by. And it had only been a few minutes. Ji-won was scared. She could see that. But he was doing his job. He was watching the instruments. He was recording everything they saw and felt. He was the kind of officer who did his duty even when he was afraid. Mi-sun respected that. "How much longer?" Ji-won asked. "I do not know," Mi-sun said. "We are following the trail. When the trail ends, we will have found what we are looking for." "And if the trail leads to something that kills us?" "Then at least we will know the answer," Mi-sun said. "That is worth something." The ship went deeper into the void. The darkness got deeper too. But Mi-sun's special senses could see further now. She could feel the shape of things that should not be there. She could sense intelligence in the darkness. Something was watching them. Something old. And then, suddenly, there was light. Not the normal light of stars, but something different. Something that seemed to come from inside things. The darkness opened up and they saw structures. Massive, enormous structures. They were so big that the Anjari was like a tiny insect next to them. The structures had lights on them, thousands of lights, like city lights, but in space. "What is that?" Ji-won whispered. "That," Mi-sun said slowly, "is the reason the Zarathi are running." The structures were orbiting a black hole. They were ancient. She could feel how old they were. Older than any civilization that humans knew about. Older than any stories or myths. The metal was covered in patterns and symbols that made her head hurt to look at. The ship's radio crackled with sound. Static at first, then words. The words were not in any language that the computer could understand, but Mi-sun's mind could translate them. It was like the structures were speaking directly into her thoughts. The voice was old and deep and sad. It said, "A daughter of Earth approaches. The Maker's ward awakens. The Zarathi flies like prey, but the hunter stirs at last." Mi-sun did not know what those words meant, but she knew they were important. She knew they changed everything. She looked at Ji-won. The young officer was staring at the structures with wonder and fear on his face. "We found it," Mi-sun said. "Now we have to understand what it is." The Anjari moved slowly toward the nearest structure. The ship was so small next to it. The structure opened like it was inviting them inside. And Mi-sun knew that from this moment on, everything would be different. Everything would change. She took a deep breath and guided the ship forward into the unknown. The inside of the structure was the most beautiful and the most strange thing that Mi-sun had ever seen. The walls were not made of metal, but of something that looked like frozen light. The light was blue and silver and white, all at the same time. It moved slowly, like water. The room was so big that she could not see the other end of it. She walked carefully. Every step made no sound. Her boots did not touch the ground in a normal way. It was like the ground was also made of light. Ji-won followed behind her, his eyes wide with wonder. He was recording everything with his suit's cameras. But Mi-sun knew that no camera could capture what they were seeing. The cameras would only show pictures. They would not show the feeling. As they walked, the light started to change. It became brighter and more colored. Then it started to take shape. A shape formed in front of them, slowly becoming clear. It was a being, but not a being like any they had ever seen. It was made of crystal and light. Its body was transparent, and inside it, stars were moving. It had a shape that was almost humanoid, but not quite. It was beautiful and alien and sad all at the same time. When it moved, it made no sound, but the light all around it changed colors. "I am Keeper of Dawn," the being said. Its voice did not come from its mouth. The voice came from inside Mi-sun's head, from inside her thoughts. I have been waiting for a long time, a very long time. I knew that eventually someone from Earth would wake up. Someone would come looking for answers. Who are you? Mi-sun asked. Her voice sounded small in this huge place. I am the last, the keeper said. The last of a civilization that lived before your kind knew how to walk on two legs. We built these structures. We built them to protect knowledge, to protect power. We built them because we thought we would always be here. We were wrong. What happened to you? Mi-sun asked. We died, Keeper of Dawn said simply, thousands of years ago. But we left something behind, a copy of ourselves, a memory, a prisoner locked inside this machine, waiting for makers who will never return. That is what I am, a ghost, a memory of something that once was. Mi-sun walked closer to the being made of light and crystal. Up close, she could see that the stars inside it were real. They were really moving inside this being's body. The Zarathi, Mi-sun said. They came here looking for something. Yes, the keeper said. They came looking for weapons, looking for power, looking for the technology to rule everything. But what they found scared them more than any weapon ever could. What? Mi-sun asked. They found me, the keeper said. They found proof that their kind is not the strongest. Proof that civilizations before them rose to heights they cannot imagine. And proof that those civilizations fell. The Zarathi cannot accept that. The Zarathi believe they are inevitable. They believe they will rule everything forever. They cannot face the possibility of failure. The keeper moved closer. Its light touched Mi-sun, but it did not hurt. It felt warm. You are different, it said. You are from Earth. Your kind does something that the Zarathi cannot do. Your kind can sleep. Your kind can stop. Your kind can change their minds. This makes you stronger than them. We are not strong, Mi-sun said. We are weak. We need to sleep. We need to rest. We get sick. We die. Exactly, the keeper said. And because you accept these things, you can overcome them. The Zarathi are strong, but they are rigid. They cannot bend. You can bend. You can adapt. This is why your kind will survive. This is why your kind will eventually win. The keeper reached out and touched Mi-sun's head. Light flowed into her. Information flowed into her mind. Thousands of years of knowledge came rushing in. Strategies, tactics, how to fight enemies stronger than you, how to use their own strength against them. How to see the patterns in their behavior and use those patterns to win. It was so much information that Mi-sun felt like her head was going to break open, but her mind was strong. She held on. She let the knowledge come in. She let it become part of her. When it was done, the keeper moved away. Now you know what I know, it said. Now you understand. The Zarathi have a weakness. It is not a physical weakness. It is a mental weakness. They cannot accept uncertainty. They cannot handle not knowing what will happen next. You can. Your kind has always lived with uncertainty. You have always fought with less information than you needed. What should I do? Mi-sun asked. You should go back, the keeper said. You should teach your people what you have learned. You should show them that being weaker in some ways makes them stronger in others. You should fight the Zarathi by being what they cannot be. Be flexible. Be unpredictable. Be human. Mi-sun felt tears on her face, but she did not know why. Maybe it was because the ancient being was dying. Maybe it was because she understood now what she had to do. Maybe it was because she was thinking about all the people who had died before she woke up. Will you help us? She asked. Will you give us your weapons? I have no weapons to give, the keeper said. I have only knowledge. I have only truth. But that is more powerful than any weapon. Truth is what the Zarathi fear most. Truth is what will defeat them. The light started to fade. The keeper was disappearing. "Wait," Mi-sun said. "Do not go. I need more information. I need to know everything." "You already know everything you need," the keeper said. Its voice was getting quieter. "The rest, you will have to learn by yourself. That is the way of humans. That is your strength." The keeper faded away completely. The room became empty again, nothing but blue and silver light. Mi-sun stood alone in that beautiful space, carrying all the knowledge of an ancient civilization inside her head. Jiwon came up beside her. "Did you understand what happened?" he asked. "Yes," Mi-sun said. "I understand. We are not going to win by being stronger. We are going to win by being smarter, by being different, by being human." She looked at the young officer. "We need to go back. We need to tell Admiral Teo everything. We need to change how humans fight, because if we fight the way the Zarathi expect us to fight, we will lose. But if we fight the way only humans can fight, then we will win." They walked back to the ship together. Behind them, the structures were silent. The keeper was gone. But it had given them something that nothing else in the universe could give. It had given them hope. It had given them understanding. It had given them the key to winning a war that everyone said was already lost. As the Anjari started to leave the void sector, Mi-sun thought about the ancient being. It had been alone for thousands of years, waiting for someone to come. And when someone finally came, it had given everything. Its knowledge, its truth, its last gift to the universe. Now it was up to Mi-sun to make sure that gift was not wasted. When the Anjari came out of the void sector, something was different about Mi-sun. It was not something visible on the outside. She looked the same. She moved the same way. Her voice sounded the same. But inside her mind, she had become something more. Her neural implants had been upgraded by the knowledge of an ancient civilization. Her mind could process information faster now. She could see patterns that no one else could see. She could understand the Zarathi in a way that no human had ever been able to understand them before. Jiwon noticed the change right away. "You are different," he said. "I am the same person," Mi-sun said. "But I have been given knowledge. Knowledge changes everything." The message went out to Admiral Teo immediately. The Anjari was coming home. When the ship arrived at the station, Teo was waiting. The Admiral looked like he had not slept in days. His face was covered with gray stubble. His eyes were red from exhaustion. But when he saw Mi-sun, he stood up straighter. "You survived," he said. "I did more than that," Mi-sun said. "I found what we need to win." They went to the command center. This time, all the important officers were there, generals and commanders and strategists. People who made big decisions about how to fight the war. Mi-sun stood in front of them all and began to explain what she had learned. "The Zarathi are strong," she said. "Their weapons are powerful, their ships are fast, but they have one thing that makes them weaker than us. They are predictable. They always do the same thing in the same situation. They always follow the rules of logic. They cannot do anything that does not make sense according to mathematics and physics and rational thought." "That sounds like a strength," one of the generals said. "It is a weakness," Mi-sun replied, "because we are not always logical. We can do things that do not make mathematical sense. We can make decisions that are not rational but still work. We can surprise them." Mi-sun used hand movements to change the pictures in the air above the table. She showed the battle tactics that the ancient beings had used thousands of years ago when fighting enemies stronger than themselves. She showed the strategies that had worked against the Zarathi's ancestors. She showed how to use the enemy's own strength against them. "The Zarathi will expect us to fight in ways they understand," Mi-sun said. "They will expect us to put our strongest ships in the front. They will expect us to protect our most important cities. They will expect us to follow military rules that have been the same for thousands of years. But what if we do not do those things? What if we do something they do not expect? Admiral Teo was listening very carefully. Mi-sun could see that he was beginning to understand. "You want us to fight like humans?" Teo said. "Not like a normal military, but like humans who break the rules." "I want you to fight like humans have always fought," Mi-sun said. "With creativity, with flexibility, with the willingness to try something new even if it might fail. The Zarathi cannot do that. They are too structured. They are too rigid." Over the next few weeks, Mi-sun worked with the military commanders to change everything about how humans fought. They did not put their strongest ships in the front anymore. They used them in ways that seemed to make no sense but actually worked. They protected cities in ways that looked dangerous, but were actually safe. They moved their forces in patterns that made the Zarathi confused. Ji-won worked with Mi-sun during all of this. The young officer had become her trusted partner. When she needed information analyzed, Ji-won analyzed it. When she needed systems understood, Ji-won understood them. He was smart and brave and willing to take risks. Mi-sun had come to depend on him. Then came the first big battle under the new strategy. Teo gave Mi-sun command of the main attack fleet. She was a soldier, not an admiral. But Teo trusted her more than he trusted anyone else. The Zarathi came forward with their standard formation. They expected the humans to fight the way they always fought. But the humans did something different. They moved their ships in ways that made no sense mathematically. They attacked targets that seemed unimportant. They retreated from fights that they could win. Everything they did was unexpected. The Zarathi could not understand it. Their commanders were used to enemies that followed the rules. They were used to fights that went one of two ways, winning or losing. But the humans were not playing by those rules. The Zarathi found themselves confused and disorganized. Mi-sun led her ship directly at the Zarathi command vessel. It was a move that no normal military officer would make. It was too dangerous. It could get her ship destroyed. But Mi-sun knew something that the Zarathi did not know. She had analyzed the energy patterns around their command ship. She knew exactly where to hit it to create the most damage. Her guns fired. The beams cut through the Zarathi defenses. The command vessel's armor started to crack. And as the Zarathi commander realized that his ship was being destroyed, something happened. He panicked. The Zarathi were not used to panic. They were not built for it. Their whole military system depended on everyone staying calm and following orders. But when the commander panicked, he made mistakes. His other commanders saw him panic and they became uncertain. And when the other commanders became uncertain, the whole Zarathi fleet became disorganized. That is when Mi-sun gave the signal to attack with everything they had. The human fleet came forward like a wave. They hit the Zarathi where it hurt the most, not in the weapons, not in the armor, but in the command structure, in the organization, in the thing that made the Zarathi what they were. The first Zarathi ship was destroyed, then another, then another. For the first time in the war, the Zarathi were losing. Over the next weeks and months, this pattern repeated itself. Every time the Zarathi tried to fight a normal battle, the humans did something unexpected. Every time the Zarathi tried to organize, the humans hit them somewhere they did not expect to be hit. Mi-sun became famous. News of her victories spread across all of human space. People on 1,000 worlds watched the videos of her ship fighting Zarathi vessels that were supposed to be unbeatable. People started to believe that maybe they could actually win. But Mi-sun knew the truth. The weapons and the ships and the tactics were just tools. The real power was human nature itself, the ability to adapt, the ability to be flexible, the ability to do what made sense in the moment instead of what the rules said to do. The Zarathi were running out of options. They had lost so many ships, they had lost so many soldiers, and most importantly, they had lost something that they could never get back. They had lost the certainty that they would win. They had lost their confidence, and without confidence, even the strongest military falls apart. Mi-sun stood on the deck of her ship and looked out at the space around her. Somewhere out there, the Zarathi were still fighting, but they were fighting like animals backed into a corner. They were no longer the unstoppable force that everyone had feared. They were just an enemy that was about to lose. And that was all that mattered.